I believe that the fires we're cast upon on the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for the...
Larry Pollock, Luke Carroll, coming to you from the Underground Performance Gym podcast. Today we have special guest Leo Mayrhofer. And Leo,
hey guys,
thank you for joining us today.
We're
gonna get more into the coaching versus non-coaching guru discussion debate that's stemmed. We talked about this last week and gave our 2 cents on, whether we think, coaches should or shouldn't be and how, in what capacity and so forth. Since then, Chris Aceto came out on Heavy Muscle Radio, had some strong words for Shawn Ray. Shawn Ray made a reply video to Chris Aceto, again, giving his 2 cents on the whole situation. And in the interim, I've actually been messaging back and forth with Lee Priest, getting his 2 cents, which, as many of you know, Lee and Shawn have a long-standing feud, so they're not the best of friends. But to my surprise, Lee actually is on the Shawn Ray camp, seeing things. So we're going to get into that in detail, and I've had some time to reflect and think about things a little bit more as well. So what we're going to start, I want to play a little bit of the Chris Aceto, what he's talking about with Shawn Ray. Then we'll play Shawn Ray's reply, and then we're going to analyze it.
All right, here we go. So here is Chris.
Being critical, he's being critical of me, which is totally fine. What's this weird thing, though, is that he also criticizes coaches in general, including very successful coaches outside of me. And the odd thing is that he never had a coach, and he never won an Arnold, and he never won the Olympia. And he's too egocentric.
Shawn didn't win the Arnold.
I said he's never won the Arnold, and he's never won the Olympia. And
but Shawn, you're saying Shawn never did? Shawn did, though, win the Arnold.
No, he did not. Mike Ashley won. He was disqualified.
No, but then Shawn won the last year after that.
So he won one.
Yeah. So, for the record. Yeah.
Everyone who passed him, from Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Chris Cormier beat him. I mean, there's a Nasser. LeBron beat him. All these people.
Ronnie.
The last time I looked at the best basketball team in history, where Michael Jordan was the head, he still had a coach. Yes, Michael Jordan and the gang ran up and down the court. Yes, they did all the physical work. But who called the timeouts? Who oversaw the offense that they were going to run, the defense that they were going to run? Who came in to make critical decisions to benefit the team?
I think they get it on that one. All right, here's Shawn and Bob chatting about it.
Commentary, but is that the case, or is that, if you listen to commentary? I've listened to football games where they'll talk about a guy in his capacity. He's like, well, he's had a lot of things going on lately, with a high-profile divorce that was in the news that might affect his play. So I've heard it from other commentators. So is it just wrong when Shawn Ray does it?
It's only when Shawn Ray does it. Remember Mike Tyson when he crashed his car and going through the divorce with Robin Givens, and Tiger Woods going through the whole affair thing with his wife? I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, all of that stuff is not a top secret. It's only a matter of his opinion not jiving with my opinion. I'm not going to give this guy any more credit. We're talking about Derek Lunsford. This guy is in the hunt for being the next Arnold Classic champion. He's never won it before. He's got vengeance on his mind. He's got redemption on his mind. He's got to go through this behemoth Samson. I made a mistake of even mentioning Chris because I gave him 5 seconds of recognition, the kind of which he doesn't like. And, of course, he's been campaigning for my job for 20 years to get me fired and make me go away. Who's Chris in the grand scheme of things? He's not getting on the stage. It's going to be Derek. I think it's a bad move on Derek's part because he didn't need him, but it might be the best thing that Derek ever made as far as his decision making. I'm not Derek Lunsford, but I do have an opinion. I was there his entire career. I'm actually the one that told him to go get with Haney Rambod. Derek will tell you that. So
Well,
getting with Haney Rambod, I recommended him to do that, and he did it. He didn't do it on my behalf, but I endorsed Haney, and Haney had great success,
Well,
just like
I'm
he
gonna-
did with Jay, Phil, and Ronnie Coleman. Chris isn't in that conversation. Come on.
I'm going to say,
All right, that's probably good. Hold on, let me switch back to. Oop. All right, we're back on. We're back on Leo. So,
All right.
who wants to go first?
Basically, Shawn started off with, he never had a coach aside from John Brown when he was a teenager, and he did his own preps, and he doesn't think coaches are necessary. Or actually, let me qualify that. They changed coaches from gurus and coaches. Coaches they termed as like a Charles Glass that trained somebody in the gym, versus a guru is someone who just does nutrition and drug protocol, basically. So they made a distinction there. So they're saying coaches are okay. They're taking you through a workout in the gym, but the guru and the giving you drug protocol, water manipulation, whatever contest prep, that's a different classification as they've stated it. And they're putting Chris Aceto and some other people in that classification. Although Haney Rambod is basically the same thing as that. And he did recommend Haney Rambod for Derek after he won the USA. So he's sort of contradicting himself a little bit there. Chris goes on a tantrum talking about how Shawn is an asshole. Basically, he, talks about personal shit about people, talks about the dead, this, that, and the other. Honestly, I don't care about any of that because I guess you could say I'm an asshole too because I said Rich Piana is a rat, and I stand by that because he is and was and did, and he's dead, and I'm still saying it. So call me an asshole too. But I'm only caring about what's really the truth and what matters as far as a competitor being their best on stage. And I've had some time to reflect and think about this. As I mentioned before, I did almost all my own preps, and it took me a long time to figure out how to do it. A lot of trial and error, many failed preps. And I've worked with a couple of coaches, and one turned out okay, and one turned out to be a total disaster. So my feeling on the situation is I believe at up-and-coming people that, need to learn are going to benefit greatly from a prep coach, just the knowledge. But when you get to the higher levels, I'm not saying a prep coach can't be valuable, but in my thinking, I don't think someone at the higher level should turn over all the reins to the coach, like I did with Nasser, and just blindly, follow what they say, knowing, like I did what Nasser said, knowing that this is not working. Mm-hmm. Like I could see myself deteriorating during the prep.
Yeah,
but I kept doing it
just being a good soldier
because Nasser was telling me to.
Yeah,
and it just like took me all the way to the grave practically. So, in hindsight, I should have just after 2 or 3 weeks of that, maybe sooner, just said, Nasser, I appreciate your help and everything, but this is not working for me.
Yeah, and
I need to eat more food.
There's a lot to unpack there from what you said, but I watched both podcasts, and it seems like Aceto is just maybe mad at Chris for not being
not at Shawn.
Aceto is mad at Shawn for not being for just being like too like raw about Shawn Rhoden, and dying, but he said about him, saying about he's kind of protecting his athletes. So I think he just has this like kind of like I want to, he's just protecting his kids, sort of kind of thing against Shawn. We all know Shawn says, what's on his mind, and it might be good, it might be bad. He might say the right thing at the right time, the wrong thing at the right time. And then kind of going further in my opinion on what Shawn's view on it is that these athletes, and even Lee's view on it, that these athletes don't need prep coaches. Shawn's a fucking genetic freak. Lee Priest is a genetic freak. Yeah, they probably didn't need him. I mean, I saw a couple shows where Lee Priest was in shit shape. He had no glutes, literally 0 glutes, and so, I mean, he's one of the best arms, freakiest guys there ever was, but even he didn't come in. And maybe if he had a coach, the guy would have said, hey, stop eating fucking McDonald's and put down the McDonald's and eat some chicken and rice or something. So I absolutely love to be able to stand on the shoulders of my coach and call myself tall. Like he takes my genetics, his experience and my genetics, and he can make a special thing. And I think that's where these coaches come in. The experience of dealing with guys. I mean, yeah, my coach made mistakes with my first prep. He had to learn who, my genetics. And he learned that by me telling him. So it's kind of like a partnership, me telling him, hey, I don't need that drug. I need more of this drug, whatever it is. So just getting a program from a freak like Nasser, yeah, it might not fucking work for you because it would have worked for Nasser. Like he could have probably eaten 0 food and just been an ultimate freak because he retains muscle on low calories and high cardio. He was known to do hours and hours of cardio a day where you couldn't do that.
On
yeah,
what
go ahead.
You're saying. I 100% agree with you. If you have a coach that has worked with you for a long time, knows your body,
stick with him,
knows how you're going to respond, and you have a good rapport with this person, that can be a really valuable thing because he could give you some good insight. What we're talking about is switching horses in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
Right before the contest, you hire a brand new person. Right when you're getting ready, and this brand new person has not worked with you before, and we know that Chris's protocols, especially towards the end, are different than what Haney did as far as the water manipulation and all that. So I agree that it is sort of
it's a risk.
It's a crapshoot.
It's a risk on Derek's part to try a new thing because he has worked with Haney for these years and it worked out great for him. But
now, what we don't know is if maybe he sat down with Chris and said, hey, this is what I've done in the past.
I'm sure he did.
This is what we did.
Yeah.
This is what worked. This is what didn't work. And Chris says, well, let's stick to that or maybe change something a little bit versus, Chris saying, this is my program and this is how I'm going to do it. And you just follow it. I don't know what that discussion was.
Yeah. I mean, only Chris and Derek know that, but what's your thoughts on what we said, Leo? Bring you in.
I think making a general statement about coaching totally makes no sense because there's good coaching and there's bad coaching and there's different kinds of people that have different kinds of knowledge, and some people might benefit from another brain and some people might benefit from like giving the other brain everything because they don't know much. And some people might not even be coachable. I'm not really coachable because that sounds a little arrogant, but most of the times I know too much and I know myself too much. So I'd be like, no, I'm not doing this. So it wouldn't work. So it's totally depends on the athlete. And also what's the big thing about coaching and where it really makes sense is you're not stressed out. And when you're stressed out before a show, you can be a magician and know everything about the sport. If you're stressed, you're not going to look your best. But if you trust your coach 1,000% and you can just relax and you know whatever he says, you just have to think that. It doesn't even have to be right, and you're going to look better. So that's one thing.
If you're doubting your
and then
coach
I want to address what Aceto said. I'm like I said, I'm not on the side that there should be no coaching, but I think Aceto's points were really weak because saying, oh, people with coaches beat you, that makes your argument invalid. Makes no sense because Shawn Ray beat more people that had coaches than he was beat by people.
That's true.
That had coaches. So he beat way more people, so he could make the exact argument for himself. I beat so many people that had coaches. And then the next argument was NFL coaches. I mean, come on. Comparing a remote coach who gives you a Zoom call once a week with an NFL coach who's on your ass every day for hours telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Shawn Ray was talking about, a coach that's physically there training with you. Maybe Shawn Ray was even talking about like a holistic coach, not even training, but everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because,
you know what, speaking of that, a lot of guys, I mean, I know they'll go live with their coach the last month. I mean, Matt Jensen was really popular for that. He had a few guys just stay with him for like half a prep, the 8 weeks they'd come live with him and his wife. And I think Cement Factory, AJ Sims does the same. Phil has invited me to do the same. So when you're like a high level guy like that going for the Olympia, I think that it's like a training camp. I know that's what the whole Kuwait thing is about, that guys go over there and live and they get all the things out of their head. So yeah, like what you're saying, a remote coach, no, but yeah, I don't think Derek's going to really go live with Chris. But.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. For
Chris
me,
is not going to do that.
For me personally, when I'm prepping somebody for a show, I'm like obsessive, compulsive, overly, Yeah. I got to know every single detail of everything, and I have to feel like I have.
As you should, because a lot of people, if you give them the reins, you'll tell them, do light jelly, and they'll think light jelly is different than your version of light jelly, on your pre-workout trackers or something.
I micromanage everything, especially at the end. Like, I'm on their ass with every training, nutrition, like all day long. And that's why I can't have too many training clients, because like
it would just be overwhelming.
When I'm prepping someone for a show, it's almost like I'm doing it myself. Mm-hmm. Because I'm so concerned about their doing well that I'm like literally up their ass with a microscope, checking everything all day long.
When do you start that? Like how many weeks out?
Well, it really depends on the person and where we're at.
Mm. If they're in shape.
If they're in shape, everything's going good. No, I'm still, talking to them two, 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. But as we get closer to the show,
it's every day.
It's every day. Yeah. Like we're posing in the gym every day. I'm like putting them through the workout or training with them every single time.
Yeah.
I go to the show, which this is like something that really bothered me. I had an ex-girlfriend who was competing, and she had a prep coach, and I just assumed she was going to be at the show because she actually lived in the same city that the show was. And we end up going there, and her coach is not going to the show. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's pretty fucked.
I mean, like, you paid this person. So I
think that coach, depends on the pay, though.
Whatever.
Like, to be fair, that really depends on the pay.
Yeah, but I mean,
if people pay $300 a month and they think you're going to come to the show, pay for the ticket,
I tell people up front, like, you're going to pay for my hotel, you're going to pay for my travel expense, you're going to pay for my food going there. Because
if it was in the same city, you better come to the show. Just make an appearance as you as a coach. Like if the Cal is in town and I got a client, down in LA that's doing the show, I'm absolutely going to be there. I'm a former Mr. California winner. I mean, I go to pretty much anywhere in California that's like Southern California. I go to my clients. I haven't had anyone be in the Contra Costa, but like I just have to cross that bridge when I get there. Arizona's a little too far out. I did go to Arizona when my coach Phil competed in there. I think it was 2022. But, I just think that's kind of like part of your job is to be to go to the shows and be around. I mean,
Look, my
if you
last
have
guy
pride,
went to the nationals. Actually, every single person I've taken to a national level show, I was there.
yeah,
I got on the airplane. I was there.
yeah. Phil
I
came to
stayed
USA's when
I stayed in
did.
the hotel room with him, or the hotel room next to that hotel room, and I'm like, every 2 hours, I'm like looking at them.
Nationals is a little different thing. I mean, maybe if you got a giant roster, maybe not.
Well,
but
I'm
I mean,
talking about she was competing in Masters USA,
yeah,
and her coach doesn't show up,
that's pretty shitty.
and she tells me like day before that.
Did she stay with him after that?
No, never showed up at all.
No, did she continue coaching with him after the show?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyways,
well, that's what it comes down to. Do you want to keep getting your $300-400 a month, or do your client ends up thinking, oh, that was a shitty experience with this coach? You want to give your clients a good experience, and then in person, hands on. If you're in the same show, if you're in the same city, I think that's a
well, I ended up
requirement.
taking over her prep the last 2 days because the coach wasn't there and she wasn't being very responsive.
Man, I've heard so many.
I'm there and I'm like, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this. I don't care about our relationship. You're going to listen to me now because you're going to get on stage in 48 hours.
I've heard so many bad stories about not being able to.
Things.
I've heard so many bad stories about not being able to get a hold of a coach during peak week, and their client is freaking out. And
I know a top level woman pro competitor who's got a famous coach, and she was constantly complaining to me that he doesn't get back to her for weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, why does?
What the fuck is that?
I see it a lot of times though that people have that problem and they don't leave, and I'm like, it's just like women being in a fucked up relationship. Go.
You know, I got a client. She competed last July in bikini, and she had a different coach throughout the whole prep. And then it came down to peak week, and her coach hit her up and said, "Hey, I want another He was charging her $500 a month. He said, "I want another $500 to write your peak week." She was like, "What?" that's some predatory shit.
All this has to be agreed to in advance.
Yeah.
When I start a prep, we sit down and talk about this is everything I'm going to do, and this is how much I'm going to charge.
Yeah.
And
I took her on, and I wrote her a free peak week, because peak week's not like, she's a natural competitor, bikini. It's not fucking rocket science. But I mean, she's been a fantastic client for me since last July, and I guess I don't know, that just it rubbed me the wrong way. And especially because she was paying him more than I even charge a month. I don't even charge $500 a month.
No, that's pretty high.
Yeah. No drugs. I mean, just for cardio, workout, and diet.
Yeah.
And her diet, like, she gave it to. I always ask my clients if they've ever worked with anyone else. I say, "Can I look at what you've done before?" And we talk about what Larry was saying before about talking with your client. Like, I say, "How did this work for you? Like, show me your pictures. What was your look?" And then I can gain all this knowledge. Like, does this person do good on keto, or does this person do good on a carb cycle, or does this person do good on a shitload of cardio or no cardio, or whatever trainings. I ask them all these kind of things. So,
well, what I know, and everybody knows this, I mean, you can really like screw things up the last 24 hours or 48 hours before a show.
Oh yeah.
So to me, like, that's so critical of a time, and if you've done all this work for however many weeks or months going into the show, and you're just going to blow it at the last minute. Mm-hmm. So for me, like, I'm taking it personal. Like, didn't do all this work with you just for you to go eat some fucking shit at the day before the show and blow the whole prep.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember I was in Miami when you know who I'm talking about, one of my clients was competing in nationals, and I was literally checking on him every 2 hours. Like, every 2 hours, I was looking at him.
That sounds about right.
Him.
That sounds normal.
And he decided to go with his girlfriend to the mall. And 2 hours comes, I'm like, "Where are you?" He's like, "Oh, we're at the mall." I'm like, "The fuck are you doing at the mall? Get the fuck back here. You need to be here, like, laying down, resting with your feet up."
I got a story like that. A buddy of mine, I'm not going to say who, but he was getting coached, and he was doing a show in Spain. And him and his wife went to Spain. They'd never been to Spain before. And you can imagine they wanted to kind of see the sights a little bit, so they went to the beach. He got a sunburn. He's all got that, you know, that layer of water on stage. The coach was understandably pretty pissed. So save that for after the show, I guess, if you're gonna continue to.
I have the best one. People might not know this. Not my client. But this one guy, really good. I competed at him at the New York Pro. He almost won it in Classic. Then he qualified for the Olympia. And he fell asleep and missed the frickin' Olympia. What an idiot.
What do you say who that was, or wasn't one of your clients? I mean,
his name is not. I mean, he knows he's an idiot for that. I mean,
yeah. I don't think I could sleep if I
were a bad person. I don't know his last name. His first name is Zach.
I don't think I could sleep I would try to, but I'd be so excited in my first Olympia appearance that I would. I don't think I would be. I'd be like the other end of the spectrum, just like amped up.
Prejudging?
Yeah, I would never fall asleep. Like if I would nap, I would be like 3 alarms and a person too that's gonna wake me up.
Yeah.
Usually prejudging that morning, you're like getting tanned and doing a bunch of shit.
Maybe he fell asleep backstage. No one woke him up. I don't know. But he fell asleep and he didn't do he missed the whole show.
Maybe he stayed up all night.
Who knows? He might never qualify again. Imagine.
Yeah. Maybe he stayed up all night, anxious about it, and then he was tired.
This is not a good excuse, but in his defense, I've been to some shows where you're like literally sitting backstage for hours on end, waiting, and not knowing when you're going to go up. This happened with us at Nationals a couple times.
That was pretty fucked.
I'm backstage, and we get there at noontime, and we didn't go on till midnight. And I kept walking up to the expediters and be like, hey, what class is next? I'm trying to figure it out. And they couldn't even tell me. Mm-hmm. They just had so many people jammed in there. It was crazy. So we were just like hanging out. Like there was not even chairs for people to sit in. They took the chairs away, so everybody's like standing laying on the floor.
I took
for basically what's 12 noon to midnight?
12 hours.
12 hours.
Yeah.
12 hours backstage. That's freaking ridiculous.
I mean, I've been
a pro show is usually scheduled.
Yeah, that's true. Since I had been to shows before, when I got last time I competed, I just took a pillow and I just like laid down until the expediters came and called us. One of my hotel pillows was just covered in fucking tan. That poor pillow.
So one thing Leo said, he's not coachable, and he brings up a good point there. Phil Heath, he came from a basketball background. He was a semi-pro basketball player, and he was used to being coached, all through basketball. So for him, he went to Haney Rambod right off the bat, right practically when he started, and he was very coachable. He just did what Haney said. Mm-hmm. And that worked.
I was coachable. Like I had a coach in the beginning when I didn't know much. Mm-hmm. And I always had a coach when I played soccer and everything, but soccer is so much different. It's not holistic. You go to practice and that's where you get coached.
Yeah.
But I had a coach in the beginning and I totally followed everything. But now in hindsight, knowing what they did with me, I wouldn't have done it, you know? So,
yeah, that's honest. My coach always tells me he's not worried about me getting picked up by some other coach, because as soon as I heard their program, I'd probably be like, that's not what you fucking do. Why the fuck why are you having me do this? He knows I just poke holes in their program.
Yeah, some people don't even know half-lives, and you'll be like, what? Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you're going to have a coach, they have to know way more than you do, and have the knowledge to,
or they know a part where I'm not good at, so right. I use them as an addition, or like as a, as like a communicator, someone who checks on me. Maybe. Oh, what we forgot to talk about is that sometimes you can't see yourself, objectively. Right. That's what a lot of people have a problem with. That's when a coach actually helps a lot when they're like, no, you're fine. Or like, no, you're not shredded.
Yeah.
Like I have people that, you know, the fat distribution is different. So they might be fat on the back. And
they can't
like,
see it. And they can't see
so
it.
I coached Thomas Connolly. He's a IFBB Pro for the Classic last year. He's already 52. He's going to do the Masters. And he was like, oh, I'm done. I'm shredded. I look so great. I'm like, Thomas, from the front, not from the back. You're not done, you know? But it's like, you know,
and that's
if he coached himself, he would have been too fat.
And that's what Chris Aceto has. Chris Aceto has experience with knowing when to push and pull guys. I mean, he's had Olympia guys win the Olympia. Jay Cutler won under Chris, didn't he?
Jay Cutler won under Chris.
Yeah.
But then Chris, then
he went to Haney.
Jay went to Haney later.
Yeah.
Chris might actually be someone that might be one of the few that I could see myself being coached by, because he would not be too dictatorial, let's say. You know what I mean? So he would probably let me do all my stuff, but he would be like, nah, now you got to cut that down. Now you got to up that.
That's pretty.
Just like few minor things, but he has the eye, and that's it. So
that's pretty much the way that the relationship is between Phil and I, because I have such a knowledge of, you know, training, using gear, nutrition, especially on myself. So when we come into like a bulk or a cut or something like that, I call him up. We talk about stuff that I don't know quite so much about, like digestion, you know, my food choices. We kind of just talk about all this stuff, and then we build a plan together. And it's mostly like stuff that was like up here, and then he kind of just like puts it down on paper. He gives it to me, so it's like something that I can like, you know, okay, this is when we start. This is the dates that we're gonna do this stuff. But I already know the dosages that I need. I already know that stuff. We put it down. He puts it down on paper, but we have this like conversation going in. That is exactly what you say.
That's what I said. You're working with your coach. He's not just like,
here's
my program, do it.
Well, I mean, at a beginner level, it's mostly going to be you're just a beginner. You don't know what works for you. You don't know what gear to take. You don't know what dosages. You don't know how to lift. You don't know anything. So at a beginner level, a coach is very important because you can jump the line, so to speak, on wasting time on doing stupid shit or taking the wrong stuff or doing it the wrong way or something like that. But we're talking about at a pro level.
Right.
So
I was just listening to a recent interview with there's actually Nick Walker and Derek Lunsford were on there, and they were talking about, and Aceto was on there as well with Guy Cisternino, and they were talking about the personality of the coach. And what's his name? Nick Walker was saying he needs somebody that's like low key and really mellow because he's high strung, and like
calm him down.
He tried to work with like Dom, and Dom's very knowledgeable.
They're both high strung.
Dom's high strung.
Yeah,
and he's like Dom would stress him out just because of the personality.
Yeah,
and Nick's like, I don't want to be like, just tell me what to do and I'll do the work. He doesn't want someone like riding.
Don't give me anxiety.
Yeah. And see, for me, I wouldn't mind like a Dominic because like that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
You want the knowledge?
I want the knowledge. That's all. I'm just like, give me the information, you know, and if it makes sense, I'll do it. So yeah, I don't really care about that. I don't take things so personally, but I think a lot of these guys do. And
well, someone high strung
like,
peak week, and they're like waking you up every 2 hours to pose. You're like, I just need to sleep, bro. Like, there can be benefits to it and drawbacks for sure. I mean, and just exactly what you're saying, you got to find a personality that you vibe with. I mean, you've probably had employers that you just did not work well with, a job that you probably would have liked, but the fucking boss was just a micromanager and just, you hated it, so.
Well, when I said I'd make someone pose every 2 hours, I'm not saying they don't go to sleep.
No, I'm just saying as like an example.
But the reason we're posing every 2 hours is because I just need to see.
Yeah, and you're trying to drive carbs.
I'm trying to see how they're reacting to the carbs we're taking in and the water manipulation. That's all.
No, I wasn't referring to that.
But like depending on the person, I can be either way. I can be really mellow. In other words, if things are going smooth and the peak is going well and things are coming together and they're doing what I'm telling them, I'm chill. But if they go to the mall and we're off, I'm fucking gonna be up your ass. Because
I would hope so.
We didn't come this far to blow it.
Some guys,
at the fucking mall.
Some guys really need that. Some guys need a dad to, rein them in. Some guys are too out there and they need that kind of thing. I mean, it just comes down to like what Leo was saying. It's just working with the right personality type, I guess.
Right. And hey, there's I can tell you 3 individuals that I know that have the potential to be really good pros, but they're never going to make it on their own because they're all 3 dumb as a box of rocks. They don't have any fucking concept of like how to train, eat, what drugs to take, nothing. They just
some people are way too talented. Some people are so overgifted.
They got that retard strength.
Yeah. They never question anything because like the most stupid stuff kind of works. Yeah. So they never figure stuff out. So you kind of like, it's almost a gift not to be too gifted.
You know the
one, especially when you want to become a coach.
It's a gift not to be too gifted because you start to take it for granted when you're too gifted and then you don't work hard. Does that make sense? Like, the most gifted guys, I mean, Victor Richards, probably some of the best genetics ever. He wasn't a hard worker.
No, he was scared.
Yeah.
There's so many guys, even at Olympia level, that don't really follow the programs where
they rely on genetics.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. You're like, what did that guy do? Like, like I know stories like people in peak week, Olympia guys, top 10, like ordering from some sushi place, their rice and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, oh, that was with soy. Well, I still look good next day. And it's like, you'd be like, what? Like crazy as shit.
Well, I told this story before. Rich Piana came to me a week before he was going to compete in the Cal, the last one he ever did. And maybe it was 2 weeks before, something like that. And he asked me to help him out. And the night before the show, I call him up and I'm like, so what are you doing? He's like, I'm at a buffet. And I'm like, why are you at a buffet? And he just hung up on me.
He always looked like a fucking water buffalo.
He went in there just looking like a horrible, like a watery, bloated mess.
Yeah. That was his genetics anyways, but he really didn't help himself out by hitting the buffet before.
I think that's bigorexia probably.
Yeah, he had a mental thing. Yeah,
that's his thing. Like I can't look too small. I got to be full.
He probably jumped on the scale and he was like 249 and it blew his fucking mind.
No,
it's
like 300 pounds.
Well, I mean, he dropped below 290 or something. He had to get back up to 300, so he hit the buffet. Oh man, I could just imagine his gut is all blown out from all that inflammation in his gut from just eating shit.
Well, firstly, all that stuff in his everywhere, the PMMA, and
was he doing PMMA when he competed still?
The very last competition he ever did,
he had it in.
He told me to come over. He flexed his arm and he said they're 24 inches, I think. And I'm like, so what's in your arm? And he's like, nothing, just side injections. I'm like, come on, dude, this is me.
Just side injection. Yeah, just some oily plastic side injection.
There's no separation between your bicep and your tricep.
Dude's got ground up credit cards in his arms.
I'm like, it's just one big lump, and it doesn't even, like when he flexed, it was the same shape as when it was hanging at his side. Like nothing changed.
Whenever he would ride because he had a Harley, he had like these big ape hangers on his Harley. It was just like a bicep like sticking out and a tricep sticking out, but like on the angles because how the arm was, it would just like stay.
I'd be afraid that something would clot and I get a heart attack from that shit.
Oh, I'd be fucking terrified.
Or some nerve damage or like, oh my God.
Yeah, I took I mean, I worry about that with just testosterone sometimes. One time I've had some weird stuff with shots, but like one time you do a shot and then just get like a random pain, like maybe the oil pushed up against a nerve weird or something like that. And you just like spend the next couple hours like, man, maybe I'll retire from bodybuilding. I'm not sure if this is for me anymore.
Never happened to me ever. But I don't even do shoulders because I see so many pointy shoulders.
No.
I see so many pointy shoulders that look so horrible. I'm like, no.
I used to do shoulders. I used to do shoulders when I was coming up, and I understand why people do it because it's right there. You just reach over and do it. But I started getting just a little bit of scar tissue, and I said, no more. So I do not do shoulders.
I do rear delts with the insulin needle.
I like rear delts. I don't do it myself. Whenever I have someone at the house, I have them shoot my rear delt.
Just like 1 cc with the insulin needle, fast acting gear. I'll just do rear delts.
If it's 1 cc, you could do it. I did it like in my rear delt. I did like 4 times or so. I'm like, nah, like rather not, because I see so many guys. They have no shoulder striations anymore. Yeah, and I don't think I have a problem with my development. I think it's very even, anyways. And I want to be like, when I hit the side chest, and I'll press down first, and then all the striations comes through. Like no one else has it, so I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. You
I will tell you though, even using 1 cc, and I rotate between triceps and rear delts. I don't know.
You got a knot?
It's like hard right there.
That's your bone. Oh, that is hard. That's not even your rear delt. When I do rear delts, I do it like back here. That's like where you're all bone back here, man. That's your clavicle. Oh, it's like down here below it.
Yeah, this is my.
I don't pull it forward like that though when I shoot it.
This is my rear delt, and you can feel like there's.
You gotta have a female shoot it for you.
There's a hard area right there.
I think that's like that's medial delt. That's like into your medial delt right there. That's like the back side of your medial delt.
Well, I consider rear delt because that's the farthest back of my shoulder that I can reach.
But it would also hurt your back double. Potentially, so
I like rear delts because it's
if I was competing, I probably wouldn't do it. Like right now, it's just TRT.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really care if I have a striation in my rear delt or not. It doesn't matter.
I mean, if you can't grow it for shits,
shoot it.
Maybe I don't know, but
I
think maybe figure out how to grow it.
I've got to the point where like I won't do glutes ever again because there's too many years of doing that. I just built scar tissue in there, and I'm just not going there. Quads, I don't like because it's not the pain. It's just for some reason the shit takes forever to absorb. It's like I get a little knot in there, and it just stays there for like days.
Yeah, mine just lumps up every time I've ever done quads. Mine freaking, and it's not the gear; it's just the location. So
yeah, it doesn't matter what gear. It's like NPP even.
It's really interesting how it's hit or miss with quads because some people can do it and they love it. I've talked to a lot of guys that can do it and they love it. And I literally, if I put like a freaking insulin needle in there, I'm just like limping around for a week.
Interesting, because I wanted to say that usually the needles are too long, and I would only do like
because there's no fat.
outer upper.
There's like no fat in there.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm telling you, outer upper with a 1/2 inch insulin needle, but I still get a bump in there, and it stays there for.
Maybe you're irritating your IT band.
It stays there for a while.
But I was gonna say, the rear delts is on my rotation, so I do biceps, triceps, rear delts, and glutes, and then once in a while I'll do lats, but it's not on my normal list of normal rotation. But I keep my volume as low as I can. I do like daily shooting. So I do, when I'm doing rear delts, I'm doing like maybe up to 3/4 of a cc per side because it's a small muscle. You don't want to do 2 cc's in your, what should be going in your glute, you don't want to do in your rear delt.
Yeah.
I never do more than 1 cc anywhere anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're retired, so you're not doing 2,000 milligrams a week.
If I had to shoot like that much oil, I don't even know where I'd put it at this point.
That's why I don't like Test Probe because it's low dose. I mean, like I like that higher dose stuff.
Actually,
I try to find.
This is kind of off subject, but when I ran my lab, I started mixing esters. Mm-hmm. I had like a nandrolone ester that had all ester. I had nandrolone phenylpropionate, nandrolone decanate, nandrolone undecanate in there. I think those are the 3 esters of nandrolone.
Oh, I didn't even know there was an undecanate. I just thought there was decanate and phenylpropionate.
Yeah, and then So I had that in there.
Somehow it holds at higher concentration when you
the
multiple.
more esters you put in, the more milligrams per milliliter you can hold in solution. So like when I made a testosterone, I used every single ester of testosterone there was.
Yeah.
And I got it to like, it was like 687 milligrams per mil.
Without hurting?
No pain, zero. I had every ester. I had propionate, phenylpropionate, acetate,
We talked.
enanthate.
Well, you would still want to do
Cypionate.
it every day, though, but you could really do micro injections.
We talked about it every day. I bought my first cycle not from Rich Piana directly, but from someone that got it from him, and I think I paid $150 a bottle, and it was bullshit. It was called King Testosterone, and it was 3 esters that were 600 milligrams. It was test enanthate at 200, test cypionate at 200, and test propionate at 200.
No, that's not real.
That would
No
hurt as
shit.
hell.
Now, I mean, I don't even think it probably had like maybe half of each one of them. I don't know, 300 total.
Yeah,
but it was obviously
there's test 400 right now, which is
I don't even fuck. I just fuck with test 250.
the test 400 is
You're just asking for trouble. If you,
test 400 is 150 cypionate, 150 enanthate, and 100 propionate,
you're just asking.
and that's the most milligrams of test that you can put in a CC without it coming with 3 esters, without it coming out of solution, without it crashing.
yeah.
If you put more milligrams than that, it's going to crash, which means it's going to crystallize. Even if you use benzoate and benzyl alcohol, it's still going to crash. So, like I said, I made a 687 milligram testosterone by using every single ester that there was.
It held, but it probably wasn't fun to run.
No, I'm telling you, this stuff was so strong. But I did.
Don't try this at home, kids.
But the only
if you're making your test at home, make it at 250 fucking
But
milligrams.
the only
per
reason
milliliter.
I did this, because the idea was, they actually asked me when I was being interrogated by the DEA afterwards, like, what was with all this weird
concoctions
you made? And I said,
just because I could.
starts quicker, lasts longer. That's all I said. But the really thing was, the more milligrams I could get into a milliliter, the less milliliters you'd have to inject.
Larry's getting called up by Pfizer. Hey, what was that? What was that formulary? How much benzyl benzoate did you use to make that 680?
That stuff was amazingly strong, and I just remember everybody that took it was like, "Wow, this is the strongest testosterone ever." Mm-hmm. Because you could take.
I wouldn't take it.
You could take 3 cc's of that, and you'd be like at almost 2 grams of testosterone.
I take test enanthate at 250.
You could,
That's all I
Luke.
take.
You could mix it with Primo, Luke. Then you could take it.
Yeah, said to dilute it. No, when I try to find labs that make Primo 150, if I've tried Primo 200 and it knots me up, but Primo 150 is okay, and then test at 250 of cypionator or enanthate. Typically, I go for enanthate. I've heard word that
Even if you cut the Primo in with something else.
but then you're just shooting more oils.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
yeah, if you cut it with like, I mean, I don't want to put unsterile oil into
No,
like,
I'm not
Primo
saying
anyway.
that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you take a Primo 200 and mix it with Tess.
I mean, that's what I do. That's what I do right now. But I mean, I think I did try that, and it didn't really help when I had tried the 200. I don't know. 200 is too high for Primo. To run where you don't get any pip. If you don't if you don't give a shit about pip, if you just you want a baseball in your ass, then fine, run Primo 1000 or something.
Maybe it depends on how many mils, because I do have a Primo 200 and I had no complaints.
Yeah.
But I don't take it myself, so I really wouldn't know. I've only tried it a few times, and because
Didn't you run Primo and then you got really sore?
my joints just kill
Larry
me.
can't run DHTs. He can only run.
My joints just kill me after like 1 week.
Yeah.
Maybe just reduce your estrogen so low.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's the problem.
Anytime I run any DHTs, I dry out, and it just wrecks me.
Yeah, he'll like tear muscles. Like
The Primo is
2-3
just like
weeks in.
just like screaming at you. Take more tests, buddy.
When I
Up
take
the test.
when I take Primo, it literally my estradiol is undetectable. like when I test in primo, because I usually run. This last year, I upped my test to 800 and running my primo at like 700 and undetectable estrogen levels. Estradiol.
So let me ask, since we're talking about...
I feel great. I don't have joint issues. My dick still works. I feel pretty good. But when I go do blood labs, it's less than 15. It's not even detectable.
But you can avoid an AI. Just run 300 primo with your test.
Yeah, I just run it. Well, I'm trying to get those milligrams up to put on the size. I mean, I have tried to run it down lower. I don't run AI. I don't run AIs at all. I don't really make much aromatase.
So since we were talking about the coaching thing and now we're on gear.
This is way more interesting.
Kind of switch. But however, like, so when you're dealing with a coach, a lot of what they do is tell you like what gear to take.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times people deal with coaches so they can source gear. Like that's why they hire a coach, is because they can get gear from through their coach. Their coach knows people to get it from.
I've actually had people tell me, if I hire you, are you going to give me the gear?
Not for free.
But anyways, I usually don't. Well, in a contest prep, I don't like. I'll tell people like what I think they should take, versus like them just making their. Yeah, they're not going to make their own gear decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're. I mean, I don't know. Nobody at the level that I've trained, I don't trust their knowledge of gear to make those kind of decisions, because I know really how different gear affects people. Like I know what dries you out. I know what's going to make you harder. I know how trend's going to work. I know how primo's going to work.
Yeah, that's why people would mostly hire coaches for that knowledge.
And then I'm gonna figure out the gear concoction based on obviously level of experience. And I tend to run lower dosages than other people. I don't know. I don't go crazy with the gear.
Mm-hmm.
But I do run, I'll just say this, towards the end, I'll run more compounds.
Lower dose.
Yeah, I just run a lot of compounds at real low dosage. And the reason is, and we're talking last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just slowly add things in, because I find like each compound, it seems to have its own like effect on the receptor site. So it'll make things a little bit harder. Like some people would think like, why run Mastron, Primo, and Winstrol? They're all DHTs. Why not just run one of them in a higher dosage? But I think you're going to get a better result as far as like overall hardness and conditioning if you run the three things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Mastron doesn't decrease estrogen the same amount, and I think Winstrol is the only steroid that actually has an effect on aldosterone, so that can kind of actually flush out some water. I think there's no other one. So in that regard, like you can always argue Winstrol can do that and no other can do it. I don't know if you run Primo, if you have to use Masteron, I think you could use either. But, I'm always like, how do you look 2 weeks out or something?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to change much or not? And if someone's ready, I'm like, we just stay the same.
Well,
basically.
I've just found on myself and other people, when I introduce Masteron, even if they're already running Primo, it adds another layer of hardness, just a little bit hardness. And I'm talking about, I don't know if it's because it's reducing the estrogen or flushing water or what, but whatever it's doing, there's a little bit, and you can see this within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a little bit extra. You could be running Primo already and Winstrol, and you add in that Masteron the last week of the show, or even 3 days before the show, and you see another layer of hardness that's just a little bit more grainy, hard definition that just wasn't there.
I like to use Masteron coming into a show. I typically use Primo in the off season.
But
I think almost everyone uses a Mastron because you're like, well, if I don't use it, like, and I'm not winning, I'm like, I should have used
Maybe
it.
I should have. Yeah.
Kind of like everyone wants
just even like halotestin,
and it's not really toxic. And if you run a probe even for just 2 weeks, it's going to change something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, I'll just
put it in.
Yeah.
Even like halotestin, you throw that in the mix at the very end, and it's going to change things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
Do you think at halo testing, if you're someone who's like some white guy with like good genetics to be dry but not full, do you think sometimes it's not a good idea to run halo?
Yeah.
No, why? High androgen is going to make you hold more carbs, so you're gonna load better anyways. So
I'm okay with not using halo testing sometimes. I mean, I personally think that it's kind of just like adding more water into a already full barrel at the end. I mean, I think it can have some effect. I don't know. I'm kind of like,
I think it adds just another layer of hardness that you just didn't see before.
I haven't noticed a huge difference of just using Winstrol coming into a show alone.
We're talking to like maybe 1%, 0.5%.
I mean, if you're
there's a difference.
If you're at the Olympia level, that could make a difference. But at like a nationals level, I don't know.
Well, I don't care whatever level. I'm trying to get somebody to be
their best,
their fullest and hardest as I can get them.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some people in some physiques where super draw can do a lot. Because like, especially in classic, when you're like, when they want you to be shredded anyways, and you're going to be shredded anyways, but then, so you're not on the flatter side, I think super draw can really, like, some people try it with anadrol and most of them spill because it kind of has some estrogenic nature, although you can't really say why.
I talked to what's his name, Brian, like Gorilla Chemist, about that, and he says that it activates the estrogen receptor on its own. Like the anadrol activates the estrogen receptor, where it's not estrogen that's getting it's anadrol that's getting in, and it's still activating the ER.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you can. I mean,
you get wet as fuck with anadrol.
You can get gyno from it if it wouldn't activate anything. Like, how the hell would it happen?
Yeah,
right?
and I think it's a DHT derivative, isn't it? Yeah. So,
but
weird.
It does.
So weird.
You definitely hold more water and sodium from it, which, depending on the person, that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're someone that's like,
if you're a water buffalo like Rich Piana, you maybe not. But if you're like if you're like an ectomorph, then
if you're stringy and dry, like that can add a layer of fullness that wasn't there. So it just depends on the person, really.
It could be good for Chris Bumstead. He wants to go to the Open one day after a classic show.
Jesus Christ.
He goes to classic, damn shredded,
gains 60
takes anadrol, next day he's
30
like,
pounds.
Open.
You want to wrap it?
Yeah. So, anything else you want to put in your regarding the coaching topic?
I think we pretty much
nailed it.
Yeah.
So just to recap, like, I think we're in agreement that a coach could be a benefit at certain levels, but it has to be the right person and it has to be done the right way. And as far as Derek Lunsford goes with Chris Aceto, I think for Derek, mentally, he probably is the type of person that needs a coach.
Exactly.
He's used to that. He needs, in order for him to feel right, like Shawn was saying, he could have training partners and other people like giving him a second eye, but he doesn't want that. He wants someone who would, like a Chris Aceto or a Haney Rambod, that's going to see like, yeah, you're good. And he needs that reassurance for his own confidence. So I think in that regard, regardless of the protocol, just he needs that type of person. Yeah. Whereas like me or myself, like I don't need someone to tell me like you look good. I do need someone sometimes to tell me to hold back because I'll tend to push too hard. But I don't need like a confidence booster person. That's for me. That's not, like I said, but I was used to competing on my own for so long that just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to wrap this segment up. Again, this is Larry Pollock and Luke Carroll with Leo Mayrhofer. Oh, Leo, give your website and your contact information. Anybody who wants to contact you. And
so I host the Overcome podcast, where actually Jay Cutler just texted me and wants to come on. Pretty cool. It's only in person though, and it's Austrian Powers on Instagram and Overcome Podcast on Instagram. Over like everywhere the same. So
where are you out of?
I'm in California, in Venice.
Oh, okay. You're close. Shit, we could have done this in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Golds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
right.
if you need personal training at Golds, I'm a trainer there. So
next time I'm in town, I'll hit you up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
let's train.
That's a wrap. Don't forget to go to our website, undergroundperformancegym.com. We got sales on HD Muscle and Chemex products, and we got some new Kratom products out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments. We do want to hear your questions so we can answer your comments and do follow-up videos and see whatever you guys think. Your opinions matter.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye-bye.
I believe in a common cause.